5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Crashing noises and hard rock and roll music. Hey, boys and girls, this is Christian Mo. You're listening to the TopSpeed.com podcast. I don't have intro music again because electronics and communications and all that sort of stuff is hard. Anyways, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday, not Thursday. Happy Wednesday. Again, this is the TopSpeed.com podcast. TopSpeed.com is your internet home for all of the crazy, cool, amazing automotive things that you want to know about. If it has an engine, wheels, goes fast, all that sort of stuff, we like to talk about it. Joining me today is our editor-in-chief, Justin Coupler. Hello, Justin.
Hello, Christian. Hello, Top Speeders. I hope everyone's having a fine hump day.
Hump, hump.
Bump, bump. There you go. Also joining us, as always, is the wonderful Mr. Mark McNabb. Hello, Mark.
Thanks, guys. What's up? Everything is good on my end.
All right, awesome. So again, this is the TopSpeed.com podcast. We would love to welcome you. Again, this is Wednesday instead of Thursday because, as you can see behind me, I am not in my normal little space. I am actually in Colorado right now, visiting with Flying Miata, drive a bunch of cool cars. There's a bunch of news about that coming soon. Last night I flew in, picked up a supercharged Miata, drove to top of Pikes Peak, had a great day. Also, because I'm in Colorado and the internet here is different than it is back home, I might get a little choppy, I might get a little torn up. I apologize if anything happens. If I fall out, Mark and Justin should carry the show on without me. So, otherwise, yeah, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Hello? Uh-oh, I think I'm already losing them.
I'm here.
Electronics are hard.
Now I don't see you.
That's okay. You can still hear me, right?
Yep. It's probably better this way.
Yeah, that's probably the most important part. All right. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna get started with our weekly wheels. We're gonna start with Mark, who's driving a Cadillac. Tell me about it, Mark.
Yeah, man. This is the 2014 Cadillac CTS, and man, this thing is fine. I did get the chance to drive the previous generation, like a 2010 Cadillac CTS back in the day, and it was a nice car, but this is just like leaps and bounds ahead of that as far as fit and finish, the way it looks, the way it drives. It's literally like a different brand. It's that good. My tester came with a 2.0 liter turbocharged inline-4, making like 272 horsepower and a decent amount of torque, about 295 foot-pounds. So it's pretty peppy. It's made it to a 6-speed transmission, which is good enough. It shifts pretty quickly when you put it in sport mode and manual, so that's always nice. However, the engine does exhibit just a little bit of a raspy 4-cylinder kind of not Cadillac-esque noise when you're under hard acceleration, but otherwise it's pretty quiet. Also, I did get the chance to run down to my local Cadillac dealer and test out the 3.6-liter naturally aspirated V6. That engine is, I hate to say it, far and above better than the 2.0 4-cylinder. It's a lot quieter, a lot more peppy, and it just feels a lot more refined. So I think if I was going to buy the car, I would definitely buy the 3.6. But the 2-liter works well enough. See, the interior, that's where the story's at, really. I mean, this thing was beautiful. It had this like 12.3-inch customizable display. It looked great. It had like 4 different gauge clusters you could use. It had the Q infotainment center, which I kind of liked, and the touchscreen dash, as far as like all the volume controls, the AC controls, everything like that was actually a touch panel. So it was kind of different, but it still worked well enough. Rear seat legroom was awesome. Trunk was big. Driver's seat was perfectly comfortable. Yeah, I was thoroughly impressed with this car through and through.
I really like the CTS. I want one bad.
It's beautiful. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, and seeing one in person, seeing it in pictures is nice, but seeing them in person
I've not
really
been in the new one.
does justice. What's that?
I haven't been in the new one, but I liked the last 2 generations really a lot.
Yeah, the last generation, you know, it really brought that whole art and science theme to the forefront. and it looked a lot better than the first generation. I liked that car, and I got to drive it quite a bit because I had a family member that had one. But this is so much better, and it's so much. Even the pedal placement. I had that was one of my biggest gripes with the last car was the accelerator and the brake were so far apart that you literally had to pick your foot up each time you wanted to switch pedals. This is not the case. It's so much better designed ergonomically. There was no weird ergonomic issues that detracted from the driving experience at all. So I have to give it to GM as far as that. You know, they did a really good job designing this car to make it comfortable, fun to drive, and exciting. And it's just got this crazy appeal to it that you look at it and you're like, wow, that's nice. And that's what a Cadillac should be. And I feel like they're finally getting back to the namesake of what a Cadillac should be. You know, it's finally a competitor to BMW and Mercedes.
You said it has the touchscreen. You said it has for controls. That's you said that it has HVAC controls too, or did I mishear you?
Yeah, I mean, there are basically no knobs.
So there's no redundant
console.
There's no redundant knob or anything for that. So if it dies, you're kind of SOL.
Yes, but then again, I don't think it would be because it's honestly, if you've ever used a Droid phone, like one of the Droid 1, it feels a lot like using that with a haptic feedback because it vibrates almost in the same manner. So when you slide your finger for like the radio volume, the tuning, or the HVAC controls, it feels a lot like that. But I don't think it's ever going to quit. I mean, it seems well built. There are redundant features for redundant steering wheel controls for the volume. So I found myself using that a lot just because my hand rested right there. Also because it was just easier. The haptic feedback works, but not as well as like the steering wheel button. So
it's always, I always find it odd that they don't put redundant controls like on the Honda Fit I had. There were no controls for the audio system except for the touchscreen.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that there's a need for the
situation like that.
It's just a different way of doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Christian.
All of that.
I think Christian's on a bit of a delay.
You know.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so it looks like
I am.
Oh, there we go.
Yes, I am on a bit of a with that whole situation. That whole scenario is with a haptic, even with the haptic feedback for a touchscreen, you have to actually look down and touch it's a knob. You sort of know where it is, and you can just reach your hand over without looking and find that knob.
Yeah, and I found that issue big with the Fit because the volume is one little itty-bitty button up at the very top of the screen, and you have to really look and go, and you have to keep on doing this to get it to go up.
Yeah. I didn't really have a problem with taking my eyes off the road when using this one, so because the dash is almost really short because it's got a forward lean to it, so there's not a whole lot of room from looking up to looking down. So I didn't really have that problem.
Okay, wow, this lag is really terrible, and I really apologize to everyone. I'm going to jump in, and I'm going to talk about my car real quick, and I'm going to talk about it constantly so we don't have any real breaks, and then we could take questions afterwards. Last week I was driving the Porsche Panamera S, and it was really awesome and also really kind of terrible all at the same time for a lot of strange reasons. So let's go into the good stuff. Really good at being a Porsche for the most part. Very well built. Very fast. The steering wheel was great. The seating position was perfect. Like, all that stuff was super awesome. But you also kind of run into this issue of it's a big hybrid, and the thing is almost 17 feet long, and so that sort of detracts from the experience you expect. But anyways, this was the Panamera S E-Hybrid, so it's a plug-in hybrid, which is really cool. It felt like the future to go home and plug in my car. On a full charge, it'll go 15, 16 miles, depending on how you drive it. So I was able to get like almost 90 miles to the gallon to show up on the dash because I was able to drive on fuel. So that whole idea is really cool. It feels really, it's really nice like that. I did run into a couple issues though where I could sort of catch the system up. If I was driving and I gave it a little bit of gas to cut the gasoline engine in, but I was also right when the transmission was trying to shift, the whole system would sort of pause and stumble over itself for a second or two. So that got kind of annoying. But I did have the Sport Chrono package, have a little sport button. I could, push it. The suspension got really stiff, and the car would accelerate really quickly. The transmission would change a lot. Along with the batteries and stuff, it's got a supercharged 3-liter V6, 416 horsepower, so really peppy. 0 to 60 comes in 5.5, 70 miles an hour. So it's kind of a super hybrid. And it was great. I took it up to the Dragon, which tail of the Dragon. I wrote a piece about that. 311 turns and 11 miles. Really crazy road. And the Porsche did really good until I almost broke it. I started to overheat the car, and it went into this weird sort of halfway limp mode thing where it kicked my traction control in, and it kicked me up a couple of gears, and it wasn't happy with me for beating on it. But up until I hit that point, it was a great car, and I really kind of like it a lot.
Cool. Now, before I get in the question here, I have to say hi, Holty. He said hi. He's online listening as always. He or she, I don't know if it's a him or her. But now, when you put it's a him, okay. Now, when you put this thing into electric-only mode, how much of a performance drop do you see? Is it really like god-awful, oh my god, I can't believe it's a Porsche slow? Or is it just kind of average?
It's almost got 300 pound-feet of torque in pure electric mode. It's totally fine to drive.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hey, it appears that my lag has fallen off as well because you guys responded really quickly that time.
For now.
Yay, interwebs!
Again, everyone, I apologize tremendously. Like I said, the internet where I'm at is a lot slower than expected, so I'm having to fight through that a little bit. But yeah, so like when you start the car, that's the weirdest part. You get in, you hit the key, and there's a little gauge to the left of your main cluster that's just like your power usage meter for whether you're charging the batteries through like charge braking or if you're like efficient or not. But when you turn on the car, that little needle bounces up to ready, but there's no noise because it's a battery car. And you hit the pedal and you take off, and it's like, wow, this is weird. But it's mostly weird because you're staring at a Porsche badge and you realize you're sitting in a car that is filled with 2 tons of leather and aluminum, and it's, I don't know, it's crazy.
So it's kind of like driving a fast Prius with a really nice interior.
No.
That's pushing it, I think.
No, because like I guess that's the thing that makes it feel like the future for me, is it doesn't feel like a Prius at all. It feels like just a really solid, well-built car. Like in pure electric mode, it just feels like a big luxury car, like you might get from like an S-Class or something. You get in, you shut the door, and it closes with this huge thump. Or if you want to, you can just barely let the door close, and it's got like the automatic door closers on it, and all that sort of stuff. And it just feels like a car. It's big, it's substantial. It doesn't feel like you're sitting in a box made of cardboard and tin foil. But when you hit the pedal and you take off, you don't get engine. Also, it appears the lag.
Now, have you ever driven the standard gas-powered Panamera?
I have not driven the standard gas-powered Panamera.
But have you ever driven the gas-powered Panamera? I never asked you that. No. I was wondering how the comparison is. You know, the batteries being down low in this thing, the handles better or worse. Yeah. It's always interesting to see if these things handle better or worse with the low center of gravity because of the batteries.
From people that I've talked to, the normal Panamera probably handles better for most.
One other thing, when you get this car as a press vehicle, is it just standard old plug-in, or do they give you like a pack that comes with it? You plug into the wall, then plug it into the pack, or how does that work?
It has in the back. There's a little bag that has this whole charging accessory thing to it. So it starts off that there is it's just a really bad lag. So it starts off where you have this like big box that's kind of funny shaped. It says Porsche on the side. It's got a touch screen to tell you if you're charging or not. And that has it's almost like a laptop charger where it splits into two pieces. You have the big brick with a cord that plugs into the car, and then into that big brick you can plug either a 240 cord or a 120 cord. I didn't have a 240, works just fine. Off of my house on the 120, it did take like 12 or 13 a actual electric charging port up there, so I was able to plug it in on a big 240 plug. But if you're on a 240, Porsche says it takes like 4.5 than originally expected. You guys there?
Yeah, we're not now. It's fixed.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
we're here.
I'm here.
It's up and everything's good now.
Is back.
Yep.
Again, guys, I'm going on. So I think
Happy Wednesday.
Probably the best course of action from here forward. Yes, happy Wednesday.
What a way to have the
probably the best course of action from here forward is I'm going to jump in and I'm going to do my version of the own drive. You guys kind of okay and comfortable with that?
Yeah, that
works for me. Now, does the feed run through you, though?
I don't think the feed back in 5 minutes, and I'll turn it back on, and we'll fight with it for a little bit. But our own drive burn this week is from Dean Toxic, and you'll hear Mark and Justin's version of it. It's an Aston Martin DB5, a Lotus Esprit S1, and an Aston Martin DB SV12. It was hell yes DB SV12, and I'd burn a Lotus Esprit because I don't really care about the Lotus Esprit. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Mark and Mr. Justin, and I will see everyone next week. Goodbye, guys.
See ya. Be safe, man. Have fun. Okay, now let's see if we can continue this without losing the feed.
Wow. I'm telling you what. This has been fun.
Yeah, this is a blast. Okay, guys, so you're now here just with Mark and myself. So no Christian. Christian is in Colorado where the interwebs do not function.
That's kind of a lie. I just found out. Yeah. Hi.
It's probably because of all that that newfound.
Hi guys. Real quick thing. It's going to show that I'm online because it won't.
Hi.
In the feed without cutting out.
We were just about to talk bad about you.
So I'm just going to mute the microphone, and I won't actually be here, but the show will say I'm here. So bye.
Hey, you can just type comments, and we'll voice them.
Christian will be here in spirit. But anyways, okay.
Like a dove over the show.
Now you have the two guys that can't stay on track running the show. This is going to be just great, Mark.
Dear God. We might as well just quit while we're ahead.
Yeah.
Not that we're really ahead, but...
Anywho, so
okay,
on.
all right. Okay, looking at our thing here, we got to start talking about Justin. You
Yeah.
are the SVT Mustang. Let's hear about some SVT Mustangs.
All right, some SVT awesomeness. For those of you who remember, the SVT Mustang was one of the most awesome Mustangs ever made, and I guess the name is now coming back. And they've been testing it on Nurburgring lately, and it is a whole hell of a lot of awesomeness. The video alone is badass. I mean, they're beating the wang out of this thing and making all kind of tire noise. V8 growling like crazy, and the nicest thing is that V8 is obviously nothing but motor. No supercharger whine, no turbocharger, no electronic gizmo, gasmo, spooling anything up. 100% all motor, which is a great thing. And we're expecting somewhere in the 500 horsepower range, somewhere about there. But the big thing is this body kit. I mean, if you look at this thing, it looks like it was ripped right out of a GT series somewhere. It looks like a pure race car, and it's obviously going to be the competitor for the Z28, which Ford has yet to really release anything to compete. They had the Boss 302, but that was kind of iffy whether or not that'd be a true competitor, and also it was discontinued. I think it was last year for it. So this past year they had nothing to compete, and looks like they're going to have the SVT to take care of that. The naming is still kind of iffy because we're thinking it's going to be SVT. We know the Shelby name is gone, so we can only assume it's going to be SVT. You know, they could surprise us and maybe bring out the SVO name again or something, but that's pretty doubtful. But it looks like we're looking at SVT as the most likely scenario here.
Now, I have a couple questions. Well, statement first. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. That body kit is fantastic. And yeah, we're talking about the new 2015 Mustang. It looks great. Question. Do you think this is really going to compete with the Z28, or is this going to mostly compete with the ZL1?
Well, I think the ZL1, I think we're going to see something bigger for the ZL1. I think we're going to see probably like the GT350 or something like that be more the ZL1 competitor. Just looking at the way this body kit's set up, it just looks like it's supposed to compete with the Z28. Because the ZL1's kind of more the straight line, pure horsepower, muscle, roar kind of car. You know, America.
Yeah.
But
okay.
this 28 has more of the aerodynamics, the downforce, lower horsepower, but better handling.
So this is going to be Ford's track car.
That's what I'm thinking. That's really what it looks like, and the way they're throttling this thing, it looks like it's capable enough to handle the Z28.
Okay. Yeah. Christian's saying it's going to be the Z28 or Z06. So yeah, I can see that. I can see that. But so do you think they're going to maybe bring back the Boss name or something to compete with the ZL1?
I don't think so, because the Boss name was pretty much killed. There's a reasoning behind them killing it. There's a distinct reason. It's something about the original was only for a couple years, so they kept it like just a couple years like they did originally. What we're looking more like is like a GT350 or GT500. That's going to be the higher horsepower version. At least that's what I'm hearing. Yeah, that's at least what I'm hearing.
You know, if they did a GT500, that would make sense, because obviously it's probably going to be the 5-liter V8. I mean, that would be fantastic. And I know that engine has to sound so good, because it has sounded awesome in the past.
I mean, Ford has some of the best sounding engines forever. I mean, as long as I can remember, it's always been Chevys have that pinging sound when you put headers and exhaust on it. When you upgrade a Mustang, headers, exhaust, intake gets that real throaty grumble that Chevys just can't quite match.
Yeah, I mean, even stock. I mean, even the old 4.6-liter V8. I mean, that thing sounded awesome in the old GTs, you know? Yeah,
they always have. I don't know what it is, what Ford does with their whole exhaust intake system, but it just always sounded so much better, even back to the 80s.
Yeah, they're awesome. Rolling in my 5.0.
Yes, sir. And speaking of quicker American cars, what do you got here, Mark? I think there's an ATS-V on the...
Yeah, dude. So apparently GM has got this thing rolling around the Nurburgring, and we think it's going to be the CTS-V, not the V Sport, the upper level V, and we're thinking it's going to have that 3.6-liter V6 that is twin turbocharged. This is going to be the same engine that is currently in the CTS-V Sport. But rumor has it that GM is going to take that 420 horsepower engine and maybe do some stuff to it, hopefully looking at like 450 horsepower out of the ATS. That'd be pretty doggone sweet. I mean, that's not a big car, and that's a lot of horses for that small car.
And then is that going to be... Is that both the coupe and sedan, or is that just going to be in the coupe? Or
now, wouldn't that be awesome? As far as we know, it's only going to be in the sedan at first. Yeah. At least that's what we see tracking around Nurburgring. I mean, oh my gosh, could you imagine that in the coupe? That would be fantastic.
I mean, they have a 3 Series, M3 and M4 fighter in one if they release both.
I was gonna say that, you know, like if they had both, they could totally go head to head with the 3 and the 4 from BMW. And so, like, I think that would be a sweet marketing move, and it wouldn't cost them any money because literally all they have to do is put the suspension bits and the engine right over. The body isn't that different. Well, I mean, they don't have to do anything with the body differently. So I mean, it would be a very low cost thing to make the ATS-V in the coupe model as well. It'd be fantastic.
Yeah. That's incredible. It's nice to see Cadillac bringing all these the V labels out there with the Escalade V Sport is rumored, the CTS-V and the ATS-V. I mean, there's a lot of goodness coming over. Now with the old Audi chief heading over to Cadillac, I think we're just going to see so much more of this.
Yeah.
And all these rumors should eventually become real, I think.
Yeah, and another thing too, it's, you know, Cadillac has to maintain that V and that V Sport because you know, you've got obviously the M division from BMW, and then Lexus is really pouring a lot of money into their F lineup, both the F and the F Sport, and so I really think in order to compete, Cadillac really has to throw some cash at this, and it seems like they are. So kudos to them for that.
Yeah, and the only real oddball left here in the luxury realm is going to be Infiniti. I mean, the only thing close to that is the IPL.
Well, the Eau Rouge or whatever, you know.
Yeah, maybe they're going to move the Eau Rouge name to other models, but they're kind of going to be the odd ones out if they don't start moving on that. Because the IPL is kind of just handling and some aero bits from what I know.
Yeah.
But let's move to the next one here. We got the Darth Vader car. What in the world is that?
Oh my God, this is really cool. Speaking of GM, what they did, this is basically a Corvette C5, so, you know, the older ones, but Mattel, or no, not Mattel, Hot Wheels, whoever they're owned by, decided that they, you know, were going to make a Hot Wheels car look like a Darth Vader car. So, you know, they had the original design of, you know, we're going to make the little bitty Micro Machine, you know, Hot Wheels thing, and then they said, you know, let's go ahead and build a real model for this. And they're showing it at Comic-Con, which I think is probably over by now. Yeah, but so it's basically got a lowered chassis from a C5, so it's closer to the ground, probably better handling, and then the body is entirely carbon fiber and like aluminum. So this thing weighs like half the weight of a regular C5, and it's got more horsepower, and it looks like Darth Vader.
That's just win-win-win. I gotta have one. I mean, it's a must. But what sucks though is I see it only hits 150. Come on.
Oh, you know, come on. That was just a nice, easy estimate. But I'm sure this car could do a little bit more than that. But and speaking of the engine, it's not that, you know, the 5.3 or whatever, the 6-liter from the C5. No. This is the LS3 with the 6.2-liter from the C6. So it's making not only the more horsepower from the C6, but it's also got more than that. So 526 horses, flywheel. That's all right. The force is definitely strong with this one.
Yes, I could just imagine driving down the road and you see this insane thing pull next to you. That is just crazy. It is.
Yeah. And the best part, you can hit a button on the inside, and it makes the lightsaber sound and the noise. So, you know.
Star Wars nerds everywhere lining up to buy this one.
I'm telling you.
I'm curious, are they going to auction this? Is there any rumor about auctioning it?
They have to, man. I mean, this is awesome. I could just imagine someone taking this thing home, but I imagine it's going to be pretty expensive if someone wants to do it.
It'd be sad to see this thing meet the fate of so many show cars where it just goes to the crusher and disappears. That would be so sad.
Oh, gosh, no. They can't do that. This thing's too cool.
Maybe the Corvette Museum will buy it.
Yeah, you know.
That is absolutely... I'm just staring at this thing. It's just pure awesomeness. But anywho, moving on to other awesome stuff that looks absolutely insane. I have a little piece here about the Polaris Slingshot, which is the latest motorcycle / car / track rig beast from Polaris, which is kind of an unusual brand to see release this, because Polaris kind of, you know, back in my days of riding ATVs, Polaris was always kind of like the utility quad, or, you know, they had a couple little sporty ones, but they were never really overly sporty. They're known mostly for their utility. Then it came out with the the Razor, their little side-by-side, and then that kind of brought them into that sporty realm. And now with this thing, I mean, it's insane. Little 2.4 liter, I think it is, from a GM, you know, the old The 2.4 liter was in like every single car GM ever built.
Yeah, the Eco something or whatever.
Ecotech or something like that.
Yeah.
173 horsepower, 166 pound-feet of torque. Doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you consider this thing can't weigh but, what's it weigh? We don't have the weight on it yet, but it can't weigh but maybe...
I would say like 1,200 pounds, man.
It's like 1,666 pounds.
Yeah.
At 173 horsepower, that is just completely insane.
I mean, that's like Corvette power-to-weight ratio.
I know, and that's one thing people forget about so often is just how important that power to weight is. You can have all the horsepower in the world, but if you're moving a 10,000-pound, land barge, it's not going to go anywhere. You have, 500 horsepower in that size car, it's not going anywhere. So you get 173 in a 1,600-pound car, or actually bike, car, hybrid, whatever you want to call this thing. That thing's going to be a screamer. No roof, no safety features, no anything. I'm sure they're going to title this thing as a motorcycle. I highly doubt they can legally title it as a car because it has no front bumper, it has no airbags, 3-point seat belts with an exposed cabin. I don't even think that's actually illegal. I think in a roadster like that with no roof, you have to have 4-point, I think. I'm not even sure, that might be wrong.
Yeah,
but
you probably have to have the 5-point safety harness and stuff.
I would think in modern times. I know the old Viper didn't have it, but it still had an enclosed cabin. So I would assume something like that, unless it's titled as a motorcycle, has to have 5 points or something like that. But it looks flat out awesome. It's something that can compete with the KTM Expo and the Ariel Atom and things like that. But the most important thing is it's going to be available in the U.S. and it is a whopping $19,999 for the base model.
What? Sign me up. Take my money. Holy
exactly.
crap.
But the only problem with that is the fact that it's not really useful. I mean, besides going around and flinging it around a canyon road, you can't do much else with it. You can't take it to work every day. If it rains, you're screwed. But of course, that was the same complaint with the original Viper that had no roof.
Oh, dude, it doesn't matter. This thing's awesome. For 19 grand?
Exactly. And I'm sure at some point someone's going to retrofit a roof for this thing, and it's going to look awkward as all hell, but there will be some sort of roof for things like that. But, I mean, it looks absolutely insane. It's fast as all get out and cheap. It is the ultimate enthusiast rig.
Here's the thing, though, right? So, like, you have the couple who are getting up in age, but they're the biker couple. They're the kind of that have the Honda Gullwing, the big ones, and they go touring. But, old Mr. John there, he can't really keep the bike up anymore, so they traded in for one of these, and it's a bike. It's not enclosed. It's open, but they now have seatbelts, and it doesn't tip over. And they can still go cruising. I think it's kind of like a replacement for like a cruising motorcycle almost. I mean, this thing is awesome.
Yeah, and it's really neat they did the side by side. You have the T-Rex, or I can't remember. I think it's called the T-Rex. The one by Can-Am. It's a front back, so it still sits like a motorcycle. This is side by side, so John and Sally can hold hands while they're riding the bike.
How sweet!
Awesome.
How sweet.
But yes, it's a whole lot of awesomeness. There's tons and tons of, well, not tons, but relatively tons of options for this thing. And infotainment center for like $2,000, iPhone cases, and all kind of weird stuff for it.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really cool to see this thing slinging around American roads instead of only over in the UK. So that's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
But really awesome rig. Wish we would have gotten a chance to drive it. I shot a link over to the Polaris to try to get it, but they went with only motorcycle sites. So, yeah.
Hey, we have a motorcycle site.
Yeah, we have a motorcycle site, but unfortunately it's not heavily populated.
Oh, we didn't say that.
Yeah, but looks like that's pretty much all we have.
Oh, Christian is commenting here, and he's not happy. So cheap, so fun. Then they usually get a trike conversion for the Gullwing. You're so right. Yeah, I see that a lot here in Florida. People do the trike conversions. It looks really silly, but
What's really cool is when they do the fake trike. It's almost like they put training wheels on the side of it, so it still has a center wheel, but also has the 2 training wheels on the side. Yes. That's really funny.
Yeah, yeah.
AWE, those are training wheels.
That's so appropriate.
Yeah, so I guess we're pushing on the end of everything we have. Christian has a whole bunch of stuff to talk about, but unfortunately, he's not here to talk about it. I want to talk about one last thing, and that's the new i8. It's a one-off version that is going to be auctioned off at the Concours, what's it called again? Concours d'Elegance in Pebble Beach. This is a one-off edition. I'm sure it's going to go for $1 million. The details are still rather sketchy on it. We know it's going to have a bespoke paint job. It's going to have some bespoke interior things, but BMW didn't go too much into it, so it's still sort of a mystery. But it's going to have, of course, the same old 1.5-liter inline-3 drivetrain. Was it 357 horsepower, and the hybrid, which is a wonderful thing. You know, hybrid power, save the environment, hug some trees, pet bunnies, things like that, and you get bespoke ride. So pretty good, but I'm sure it's going to be outrageously expensive and way out of our pocket. But we will get more on that whenever it comes out because it's still very sketchy, and honestly, I don't know a whole lot about it because of how secretive BMW is all about it. So we'll find that out. When is Pebble Beach? I think it is next month, actually. It's in August. So we'll find that out next month. Let's see. Do you have anything else, Mark?
Yeah, I do. I have the Volkswagen Eos, which is soon to be no more. Volkswagen is killing it for the 2015 model year, so 15 will be the last year. And in fact, what they have done is they have replaced the Sport trim with the final edition. So sad face for the Eos if you like it. If not, then you really don't care. There seems to be not that much attraction to the Eos because they only sold not so many of them. 12,800 total for last year. So I mean that's no. I'm sorry. The hardtop convertible only moved 4,100 units in 2013 in all of the United States.
Wow, and I'm curious, are they more killing it, or are they just putting it out of its misery, taking it behind the barn, put the gun to its head, and say, "See you later"?
Yeah, I don't, maybe a little bit of both, because I mean, this thing is, when it first came out, it really wasn't well received either. It really makes me wonder. It is kind of expensive for a Volkswagen. It's cheaper than like the Lexus ISC, but I mean, you still get a hardtop convertible. I don't know, the car it never really took off well. So Volkswagen's putting its tail between its legs and shooting it.
At least it knows when to end it. I think they left it go a little bit too long, but okay. Yeah. How many years was it? Like 5 years or something? Yeah,
I don't know. I'm right now. I'm playing the smallest sad violin ever.
And even Christian, Mr. Volkswagen, says, "Yay, die, Eos, die." Amen. Yep. Okay, so I guess we'll move on to questions and answers. Christian, you can answer in the comments. We'll see what your answers are here. This one comes from, I'll take the first one. I guess you can take the second one there, Mark.
Do it.
Alan Miller, he says, guys, what would be your pick for the most anticipated 2015 cars? I, for one, can't wait to see the new Jag XE. What do you think, Mark?
The Jag XE is really cool, but I have a whole nother list. Number one, topping that list, and I have to say it just because it is the best-selling ever car, is the Ford F-150. And yes, I am a truck guy, but it's not just because I'm a truck guy. But the new aluminum body is going to be really a game changer, and I think a lot of the other truck manufacturers are going to have to go to that in order to compete. And I mean, to have an aluminum body on such a high volume car is just, a total game changer. So that's probably number one. Let's see, number two. Of course, we've got the Corvette Z06 coming out. That's going to be pretty fantastic. Another thing from GM is going to be the new Colorado and Canyon trucks. So I think that's going to kind of revive the small truck market as well as revitalize GM in that area as well. So how about you, my friend?
Well, I agree with you on the Ford F-150. That's going to be a game changer for sure. I mean, I'm surprised it took this long to get aluminum in a truck, but so be it. But I'll agree with you definitely on the Chevy Z06. That was my pick. I can't wait to see that. 650 horsepower, 650 pound-feet of torque, low 3 seconds to 60, and this thing is going to be insane. It's going to be a true supercar killer from Chevy. Looks sexy. It's just as fast as some of the lower end supercars. Handles close to them. It's just going to be a whole lot of awesome. And the other one I also match you is the Colorado Canyon Twins. I'm more excited to see the diesel coming into the small pickup.
Yeah, the 2.8.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing it trickle its way down to the smaller full-size pickups, but to see it coming into a mid-size pickup is really gonna reinvent the entire mid-size pickup range. I think gonna see high torque from a small pickup that's gonna be able to actually tow something.
Yeah, I can just imagine this thing getting like 30 miles a gallon on the highway because the Ram EcoDiesel gets 28, and it's a V6 and a full-size truck. So imagine what a 4-cylinder and a mid-size truck will get.
Oh
It's fantastic.
It's going to be outrageous. I mean, it's going to completely change the way people look at trucks.
Yeah, it's just it's going to be pretty fantastic. So agreed. Yeah, it's going to be a game changer, and I think the other manufacturers are going to have to get into it as well, whether they want to or not. I know Ford has killed off the Ranger years past, and honestly, I think the truck market really misses the midsize category.
It does. I mean, we had the Dakota for the longest time, and the Ranger, and then the Colorado Canyons. I think we're going to see probably a return of some Ford midsize truck. Maybe they'll bring the Ranger. I don't know. We'll likely see something come from Dodge. They have to respond. There's no way they can't.
Yeah, and gosh, could you imagine the Volkswagen R-Mark or whatever it is coming over? Finally.
Oh, that would be
what a beautiful truck.
Awesome.
That truck is awesome.
I think truck fans have been waiting for a long time for that one. That's way, way, way overdue.
I about crapped my pants the first time I saw that truck whenever it first debuted as a concept like 5 years ago, and I was like, wow, I have to buy that truck. It looks so fantastic, even 5 years ago. So.
Yeah, I think VW kind of killed itself with its truck offering back in I want to say it was the 70s or 80s with the what was it, the Rabbit truck or whatever.
I was thinking the same thing. Yeah, the little Rabbit thing. Christian, do you have anything? Type in the comments and we'll respond. What's your most anticipated car coming up if you're still online?
It was like F-Type with a manual.
Oh, F-Type. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Don't hold your breath, Christian. I think an F-Type with an all-wheel drive system before you get the F-Type manual. And also so was the Ford Pinto.
Oh. Hey man, don't hate on the Chevy Vegas. We should that needs to be our theme for next week. Like awesomely terrible cars. I think that should be our next section next week.
I have a list about yay long.
Awesomely terrible cars. Well, why don't we get into some awesomely awesome cars? Oh, wait, we have one more question. More question. This is from Fred Grant. Hey guys, would you want your girlfriend/wife like this? Insert video here. If any of your wives are reading this, you know the right answer. And the video would be of two cars drifting around these mountain pass. Really awesome, really tight, and the smoke flames going everywhere. And then the next scene is like the guy and the girl are in their racing suits and they're hugging and kissing as they're looking over the mountain pass they just came up. So my answer, yeah, my girlfriend's a pretty sweet driver, so I have no reason not to say that she would ever not drift with me. So yeah, it's pretty cool. How about you? Does your girl like the drift?
Well, my wife actually just got her driver's license about a year ago, so I don't want to quite have her drifting just yet. But it's a good time to learn. Learn early, and you'll be a pro at it by the time you're, I don't know, maybe she'd be 50. But yes, I would love to see my wife be able to drift like that. Nothing is more sexy than a girl that can drive, or woman, I'm sorry, that can drive like that. I just find it sexy. I have no issue with it at all.
Yeah, well, Christian is piping up here. My wife is that awesome. She drifted the Porsche once, or before. So yeah, they've got a Porsche. What's it, 944 or whatever? Yeah, 944. Apparently, she's gotten that sideways. Hopefully, on purpose. Not on purpose, but she did.
Hitting an ice patch doesn't count, Christian.
I don't know if that counts. Yeah, bald tires on a wet road around a curve. Yeah, I'm not saying that's what happened, but don't lead us to believe. Anyway, so cars that we would like to have, or possibly burn, or possibly only drive once. So, own, drive, burn. We have the Aston Martin DB5, the Lotus Esprit S1, and the Aston Martin DBS V12. You hadn't figured it out. These are 3 James Bond cars, and they are all insanely iconic. Justin, what's your answer?
Okay, I have to go by default because there's two cars I wouldn't dare burn, so I'm gonna have to burn the Lotus. I love Lotuses, and they're the best cheap man's sports car. I think they're great, but I have to burn it because I can't possibly see myself burning anything with an Aston Martin badge without whatever the name of that silly IQ makeup that Aston Martin did. I would have to, I guess, drive the DBS V12 once, just for the sheer awesomeness of driving it. And I want to keep the DB5 because it is just, it's an icon. It's sexy. It's still relative to this day. It still looks good to this day. It's not one of those classic cars that aged poorly. It just looks silly today. It still looks good, and it's still a head turner. So I'd have to drive that every day, drive the DBS V12 once, and set fire to the Lotus's spirit while I weep in the corner.
Well, I guess I have to second you on that. But I will say, if we are talking James Bond cars, the Lotus Esprit was a submarine, which is pretty awesome.
That is true.
that's pretty cool. But in reality, that's probably the one I would have to burn. Sadly, because it looks really cool. Kind of looks like a DMC DeLorean. As far as driving once, yeah, I'm gonna have to drive the DBS V12 once, just because it's it's cool, it's new. Has a V12. How do you say no to that? And then, of course, own every day just because it is so awesome. And it has machine guns popping out the headlights. The Aston Martin DB5 from, what is it, Goldfinger or whatever? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think so.
It's awesome. Yeah, and if you don't remember, Christian did answer earlier. He was going to keep the V12, he was going to burn the Lotus, and he was going to drive the DB5 once.
And Cyprian, our own Cyprian, said, "No, don't burn the Lotus. Sorry, man, I can't. I have to pick one, and I can't burn the Astons. Come on,
yeah,
I cannot burn an Aston. I'm sorry." But I
guess that pretty much concludes our show. So if you guys, leave the comments below in the section, please give us more own drive burns for next week. Make sure you type out the questions. Let us know what you're thinking. If you have questions about other cars, or if you have topics that we can cover, anything like that, we will cover it all. It is all fair game. So leave that in the comments below or on other sites, or other pages. So with that, I guess this is our podcast for this week. So and Christian promises he will be back next week, and it would be much better because Colorado isn't, he's not suffering from that, high Colorado mountain smoke over there.
Something about the altitude that screws up the internet, I think.
Oh yeah, closer to space. Yeah, farther away.
Check us out at TopSpeed on Twitter, at TopSpeed Podcast.
Yep, and on iTunes. Make sure to favorite us, like us,
subscribe, comment.
Yep, and rate us 5 stars.
Yes.
So, all right, guys, take it easy. We'll see you guys next week. And here's us playing music. Outro music. All right, kill it.
At least I know how to play freaking guitar, guys.